Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ba'd. All right, so we left off at section 8 of, everyone's got to know what surah we're on now. Ali Imran. Good. And who can tell me who is Baqarah? That's right. And who is Imran? Father of Maryam. Good. And who's Fatiha? Whose father is he?
I know what he is.
What is he?
He's the father of the Qur'an.
Father of the Quran. It's funny because it's actually called Quran, the mother of the Quran. So that's actually the nickname for Surah Al-Fatiha. Yeah, Fatiha means the opening. All right, so section 8 of Surah Al-Imran. We're on verse 72. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وقالت طائفة من أهل الكتاب آمنوا بالذي أنزل على الذين آمنوا وجه النهار. A group among the people of the book said, believe in what has been revealed to the believers in the morning. So a group of people came together from the people of the book, and the people of the book are Jews and Christians. So here the Quran says people of the book. Sometimes when it's referring to them, it's referring to both of them, Jews and Christians both. Sometimes it's referring to only the Christians, and sometimes it's only referring to the Jews. And you can only tell which one it is by looking at the context. The context is understanding what is the story that's being told, and then you can tell, is it referring to both or Jews and Christians? Now, or Jews or Christians. So the question then is, if it's only referring to, in this case, it's only referring to the Jews. So why would they say people of the book instead of just saying the Jews in that period are saying this? The reason why is because even though there was a historical incident that happened during the lifetime of the Prophet, peace be upon him, it's trying to give a general principle and saying, hey, this is not only restricted to this group. You can find other groups also doing something similar. And it's not only the Jews and Christians. It could be an idol worshiper. It could be an atheist. It could be anybody who is trying to play this trick that was played on the Muslims. So here's what happened. There was a group among the people of the book referring to the Jews who were living in the city of Medina. And what they did was they started speaking to each other and they said, you know what we're going to do? These Muslims, they're growing. And this is, again, this is the Medinan period in the beginning. Islam is growing in Medina. So they go to each other and they're getting a little bit jealous. They're like, this is not good. You know, too many Muslims, too many people are accepting Islam. We got to do something. We have to somehow stop them. And the people who accept Islam, they become so dedicated, so devoted to Islam. How can we kind of stop this process from happening? Well, one of the things we can do is we can put some doubts into the minds of people. What's one way we can put doubts in the minds of people? Here's what we're going to do. Here's our plan. We are the Jews. We're people of the book. We have a scripture. Jews were known to have good rabbis at the time, in the sense that they were knowledgeable. In fact, the Jewish community in Medina, and there's Arabs, they all speak Arabic. Are they more educated or less educated than the idol-worshipping Arabs in Medina? Jabir, go ahead, answer. Yes, they're way more educated. The Jews are way more literate. The Jews have, the Arabs in Medina, which books do they have? Which books do they regularly read? Like in their bookshelf literature, like what's the average literature that they would have? They didn't have any books. They did not have any books. So at least the Jews, they had books, had the Torah. They're able to read it. The scholars are able to read it. And the people were way more literate and educated. The Jews were way more educated and literate than the Arabs. And part of it is because they have a book. And part of it is because they came from, they were exiles from another civilization which had way more literacy. So they're not like Arab going all the way back. So they have a little bit different culture, so a little bit more educated culture. So here the Jews come together and say, we need to stop these people. Here's the plan. The plan is we're going to go and pretend to become Muslim in the morning. And then what are we going to do? وَكْفُرُوا آخِرَهُ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And then reject it in the evening so that they might leave their faiths. So we're going to go and we're going to pretend like we're Muslim in the morning, and it'd be like, oh, Islam is really great. Pretend like you're a convert. We're coming to the masjid and we're going to pray with you guys. We're learning the Qur'an. Please give us some new Muslim mentor. Everything's going great. And then in the evening, we're going to be like, man, everything that I've seen, now that I've seen the Muslim community and the stuff that they're doing, I can't be part of this religion. And then they're going to leave. And what that's going to do, it's going to cause two problems. Number one, when you pretend like you're entering into Islam, now people are like, wow, new convert, this and that. And then they're going to be like, all these converts are leaving within a day. When they learn more about Islam, they're gone. And because the Jewish people are more educated, they're going to make the argument and say, you know what? We were able to learn more about the Quran and everything. Then we compared it with our own scripture, and we're the educated people. And we're leaving. So the more elite educated people, when they play this trick, it's going to have way more effect and influence than just some random people who are coming in. So it's a master plan that they came up with. And they say, this is the way we're going to get these Muslims, right? So this was their plan. And then they went and then they told their own people, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا لِمَنْ تَبِعَ دِينَكُمْ. They also said, only believe those who follow your religion. Meaning, when you do this trick, make sure you don't actually leave Judaism, because they're a little bit scared. Like, what if somebody like accepts Islam and then they're like, okay, we were planning on doing this, but this is actually a really nice religion. They're like, you better not get stuck. You know, by evening time, you better come back home and make sure you're only following your own religion. This is just a trick that we're going to be playing on the Muslims. So they told them that. قل إن الهدى هدى الله أن يؤتى أحد مثل ما أوتيتم أو يحاجوكم عند ربكم. Say, Allah is telling the Prophet to say that only true guidance is Allah's guidance. So you know what? You can play all these tricks and this has become like, this is your religion. Like you're going to go and play tricks on other Muslims to pretend. Like how low have you people gotten? This is not the guidance of Allah. The true guidance of Allah is the guidance of Allah. And this was a very difficult verse to translate. There's so many different translations, but the summary of it is saying, do you say out of envy that nobody else can receive revealed knowledge similar to yours? Or are you afraid that they're going to argue against you before your Lord? Meaning, if the Jews admit that, you know what, we also have very similar things in our book that you have in Islam, then are you so scared that, you know what, you're going to be in trouble on the day of judgment, that, Allah's going to, somehow, you're going to lose an argument against the Muslims when they're saying we have the same stuff? So the Prophet's being told that, look, there's one correct religion. Look into this. And then they're saying, you know what your problem is? The problem with these people who are plotting, your problem is envy. What is envy? Envy means that you want to have everything for yourself and you don't want anyone else to have that benefit, right? So if we have cookies, for example, and you say like, you know what, I don't want it, these cookies are mine, I'm not going to share them, right? They belong to me. Or somebody comes and let's say somebody gets an A on the test. This is a better example. Somebody gets an A on their exam and somebody else gets an A and you say, mashallah, I got an A, you got an A, we both got perfect score. Nope. I want to be the only one who gets the perfect score in the class, because your value becomes higher, right? If somebody else has a perfect score, there's two ways to look at it. One way is, hey, great, I still got a perfect score at the end of the day. I did very good. Second way to look at it is, I want the special attention from everybody else that I'm the only one who got the perfect score. Nobody else should have that. That's envy. So Allah is saying that the root cause of why this group did not want to even consider the Muslims, that even look into the religion of Islam correctly and properly, is because they had envy. And he's saying, what's the envy that you had? Say, you don't think Allah can send any prophet, any other revelation to any other people except you? Because meaning the Jews, they had Prophet Musa, and they had Prophet Suleiman, they had Prophet Dawood, they had many, many prophets. So if they got into the mentality of prophets only come to the Jews, which is not true. If you go all the way back, Jewish people before that, there were still prophets being sent. But if you get into the idea of, look, we get so many prophets, nobody else will ever get another prophet. And Allah is saying, do you think that nobody else in the world can ever get another prophet besides you guys? You guys are mistaken. It's envy in your hearts that's causing this problem. قُلْ إِنَّ الْفَضْلَ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. Say, Allah is telling the Prophet to say, blessings are in the hands of Allah. He grants them to whomever He wills. What blessing do you think we're referring to? Allah is referring to here. What's the blessing? The blessing of money, blessing of power, Blessing, guidance, but a little bit more detailed. Prophets, there you go. Blessing of prophets, right? So these guys are, it's like you think you're the only one who's allowed to have a prophet. Nobody besides the children of Israel can get another prophet afterwards. These blessings are in the hands of Allah. Controls the blessing. He will give the blessings of prophethood and other stuff to whoever He wants. So it's not solely for you. Wallahu wasi'un alim. Allah is generous and Allah is knowing. He's generous in that He can give. If you think He runs out of prophets, can't give it to somebody else, be like, you know what? Sorry, we don't got any prophets left. we can't give any more. Only once the children of Israel got it, our stock is depleted. Sorry, guys. Allah is He's generous. He can give as much as He wants, and He's alim. He's knowing, meaning He knows which community deserves to have which prophet and when. It's Allah's decision. And the next verse, يَخْتَصُّ بِرَحْمَتِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. He chooses whoever He wills to receive His mercy. And mercy in this context means like blessings, like prophethood, right? Having a prophet is actually a mercy. Again, this is one of the problems of people. There's two ways to look at Islam, right? One way to look at Islam, got so many rules to follow, got to pray 5 times a day, got to make wudu before the prayer, can't eat that pork and that pepperoni and this and that. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is this is a mercy. This is a blessing. We have a code to follow that's actually for our own benefit and for our own good. And sometimes you get tempted to do things which are ridiculous and foolish, or eat things which are not, good for you spiritually or maybe even physically. And then you have that code that guides you and says, no, this is not good for you. That's mercy. That's a really good thing to have. So that's the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains prophethood. Wallahu dhul fadlil azim. Allah is the possessor of great generosity, right? Great generosity means He can keep on giving as much as He wants. He can give as many prophets as He wants. He can give whatever wealth He wants to different people. There's no limit to Allah's generosity. وَمِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ مَنْ إِن تَأْمَنْهُ بِقِنْطَارٍ يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ. There are some people of the book. Again, it's still using the term people of the book because it could apply to everyone, but it's referring particularly to the Jews in Medina in this context. So there's some people of the book who, if entrusted with a large amount of wealth, they will quickly return it. Actually, so this one could be referring to some of the Jews in Medina. It could also be referring to the Christians. So there's like a little bit of context of history where the Christians were at this point in time a little bit more friendly and less hostile to the Muslims than the Jews were at the time. And sometimes it switches. It's not always the case necessarily. So there are some people in the book, you entrust them with a large amount of wealth, they will return it. So let's say somebody needs to borrow some money. You say, you know what? I'm going to, loan you this money. Or you say, I need you to keep this money as safekeeping for me, like a safe deposit box or something. And I'm going to come back in a month. I'm going on a trip. I'm going to come back in a month and I'm going to get it from you. And there are some of them, you give them so much money and they'll quickly return it right back to you. They're very honest, very trustworthy. You can rely on them. Even though they're not Muslim, you can still rely on them. So it's saying among the people of the book, there are some of them you can 100% do this with. Then it's saying, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ إِن تَأْمَنْهُ بِدِينَارٍ لَا يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ إِلَّا مَا دُمْتَ عَلَيْهِ قَائِمًا. Yet there are others from the people of the book who, if entrusted with a single coin, you just give them one coin, they will not repay it unless you constantly demand it back. Now, can I have my money now? No, still not yet. Can I get it back tomorrow? They're going to keep avoiding you, walking away from you, just not giving you your money back. And this is a big, imagine how frustrating it is. Imagine how annoying it is. There are some people like this in the world. There's a funny kids show that came out recently. So I Am the Best Muslim. If you watch that, there's a new episode about this, about how to ask money from your friend. It talks about like how some people are so stingy they don't want to give the money that you loan them back. It's so hard to get it out of them. It's pretty exaggerated, but very funny. This is exactly based on this verse. So some people you have to keep on asking them, and you find this even in the Muslim community. So this is an address to the Muslim community at that time, saying, look, there's a lot of people of the book, they're doing stuff like this. But you think it's only people of the book? Like this doesn't happen with Muslims? Oh, it happens with Muslims. It's unfortunately it's contagious. You go and you loan somebody a book, you're like, look, can I please, I need this book back tomorrow. Doesn't come tomorrow. Then the next day, the next day. And then you see the person be like, hey, you're about to go walk up to them, ask for the book, and they kind of walk the other way because they know it's very difficult and it's very frustrating to deal with people like that. So it's talking about trusts and fulfilling the commitments and the promises that you make for other people. So there's two types of people. But then it explains at this time in history, there was an underlying reason why some of them wouldn't do it. ذلك بأنهم قالوا ليس علينا في الأميين سبيل. This is because they claim, meaning the group of people who won't give you the single coin back among the people of the book, which were among the Jews, what do they say? We will not be responsible for the Gentiles, right? Gentiles means non-Jewish people. So Jews has two meanings to it. The word Jew means the ethnicity of the person in terms of the tribe they come from, their blood. It also means religion. So what you find is, for example, someone can say, I'm an atheist Jew. I'm a Jew that doesn't believe in God. Now, does that mean that their religion is Judaism? It can't be. Because if you don't believe in God, what book do you have? You have nothing left, right? Strangely, you have some weird people claiming to be atheist Christians and Muslims, but anyways, that's a whole contradiction in and of itself. But when it comes to being a Jew, you can do that. And you can find somebody like that. And can you have somebody following Judaism that's not a Jew ethnically? You can, right? Like, huh? They're not well accepted, but you do find people like that, right? So the Jew has two meanings. We'll leave questions till the end, inshallah. So the people who are not giving back their money and they're holding on to the coin, what's the underlying reason? There are some of those people who claim we're not responsible, we're not going to be held accountable in the sight of Allah if we cheat non-Jewish people. So we have a double standard. The standard is, when it comes to Jews, we have to be honest in our business dealings and everything like that. But when it comes to non-Jews, free for all. It's like a free reign. We can go ahead and cheat them and do this and steal from them, and it's not a big deal. And Allah's mentioning the underlying condition. And now, this is their own way of justifying things. And what does Allah say? وَيَقُولُونَ عَلَى اللَّهِ الْكَذِبَ وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. They attribute lies to Allah and they knowing. So this is Allah saying, this is not in your book. Do you think that this was what Prophet Musa was revealed? Like the Torah was sent to Prophet Musa. Do you think that the message that Allah gave to Prophet Musa was, you're allowed to cheat non-children of Israel people? Saying, no, these people made this up. This is not true. This is not part of their true teachings. So in terms of cheating somebody, it's not part of their true teachings. But if you look at the law today in the Torah and how the Jews still practice their book, what you will find is clear-cut verses which say that taking interest from a Jew is forbidden. It's absolutely forbidden in their religion. But taking interest is usury, it's riba, and it's haram in Islam. It's actually forbidden and it's haram for the Jews to take riba and interest from other Jews. But it says that it's allowed to take it from the Gentiles. You can take it from non-Jews. So that's very interesting, right? And the thing is, not only it's in their books, it's something that's been practiced in history. I was just telling one of my friends recently, I visited, I don't know if I shared this story before or not. I visited Oxford University like a few years ago. Oxford University is one of the oldest, Western universities in the world. We did a little tour. They were showing us different buildings, and they're like, this is the ancient science building, and they invented such and such medicine over here or whatever there. And then they showed this other building, and they said, in the bus tour of Oxford University, they said that building over there, that's where the mostly the Jewish people used to live. They used to have a whole section where Jewish people lived 800 years ago in like the 1200s or maybe 1100s in Oxford University. But they were all kicked out of England They were kicked out of the University of Oxford and they were kicked out of England because the Catholic Church controlled the university and they controlled the country at the time. And the reason why they kicked them out is they said these Jews are taking interest from us Christians, and they don't take it among themselves, but they take it from us, and that's part of their religion. So we got so upset about that. The discrimination began against them, an anti-Jewish sentiment. That was one of the reasons for the anti-Jewish sentiment, which is interesting because it is actually in their book. So that brings a question. Someone might ask, was that part of the original law of Prophet Musa or not? Because there's been changes that have been made. Some changes some things are originally there. So could it have been an original part, or could it, like, obviously stealing, 100% no. Allah is making it clear, you have to return their money. You can't, saying that taking interest is one thing, taking this is a whole other level. So could that have been part of the original religion? We don't know for sure, but it's very possible that when a lot of these rules were revealed, look at the context in which the Torah was revealed. It was like a state of war, right, with other people. So the rules that exist in a state of war are going to be different than the rules that exist in a state of peace with other people and other nations and other communities. So that's my theory anyways. If it was from the original teachings, it was for that time because they were in a state of war when Prophet Musa was getting the revelation that they're going and entering the city, and then they don't want to go and fight. And Allah, they're saying, you and Allah go and fight. When you get to that story, that could have been the reason. But that doesn't mean that that same type of law is supposed to apply across the board throughout time and you keep on applying the same thing. Anyway, in case anyone was wondering that. بلى من أوفى بعهده واتقى فإن الله يحب المتقين. Allah says, wrong. That's not true. That's not what you're supposed to be doing in your book. Those who fulfill their promises and are afraid, meaning they're afraid to do anything wrong, Allah loves those people who are mindful of Him, right? Allah loves the people who are pious. So it's basically saying your whole mentality of, you know what, you look down upon the Muslims and you think you're better because you're from a certain tribe. And unfortunately, we're seeing the same thing happening in the same region. They look down upon people because of their religion, because of their ethnicity, and they have this sense of Jewish superiority. We're better, we're the chosen people, and we're a special tribe, and you treat everyone else like you're like nothing, the Jews and the Christians and other people, So it's what's happening right now in Palestine. So it's like the same thing living out. And subhanAllah, when you read this, just imagine this. Imagine if the situation wasn't like this today. Or if you didn't know, like many people still don't in the world, they don't even know about the situation. They say, we live in a modern world where people are nice to each other. We have a United Nations, which doesn't seem to do anything anyways. But we have United Nations, and we have this and we have that. And you're like, we're civilized modern people. The Qur'an is talking about people like so harshly. Could something like that ever apply again in this life? And then you go and you look in Israel right now and you're like, this is exactly what's happening. Exactly what's happening. And it shows you sometimes we fall into this very post-enlightenment mentality where we're like, the world is so different. I mean, the world is different in many ways, but people's morality and immorality is cycles that just continue to keep repeating themselves again and again and again. And we see exactly people fitting the exact same description. Like other people are simply, they're not even worthy of having the basic decency of even returning their money or returning their home, even if after post-bulldozing, returning any land, anything like this. No. Why? These people have no authority over us. We're the special people. This belongs to us. It's exactly the same mentality. Exactly. It has not changed at all. So Allah is bringing this to us as a reminder. إن الذين يشترون بعهد الله وأيمانهم ثمنا قليلا أولئك لا خلاق لهم في الآخرة. Those who trade Allah's contract. The contract of Allah refers, the covenant of Allah refers to, you follow me and I'll give you Jannah. You do good, I'll give you paradise. But those who trade Allah's contract and their promises, meaning they're willing to sell their promises for a small amount, will have no share in the hereafter. Why? Because what are these people doing? They're saying, you know what? Well, our book teaches us that we don't need to return money back to people who are non-Jews. Or our book tells us there's no Prophet Muhammad mentioned. There's no other prophet going to come. And they're lying. But what do? They promise and they swear, nope, we're telling you the truth. But they know deep down inside that's not true. And they're trying to get some money, or they're trying to get some position or some power or whatever influence they're trying to get for doing that. So you're not going to get anything in the next life. وَلَا يُكَلِّمُهُمُ اللَّهُ ولا يكلمهم الله ولا ينظر إليهم يوم القيامة ولا يزكيهم ولهم عذاب أليم. Allah will neither speak to them like in any kind way or whatever, nor even look at them, or usually when you say you're not going to look at somebody, not even like a little glance of mercy, like you don't even want to see that person, and nor purify them of their sins on the day of judgment, and they will suffer a painful punishment. All right, so there's a few more verses, but we'll leave it here, inshallah. I'll open it up for questions. We'll stop at verse 78. Bismillah, go ahead, Hamza. If you look at this particular incident only, just you have tunnel vision and you only see this particular incident, then you could say yes. If you zoom out just a little bit, just a few years, let alone 75 years of all of this, then no. You can't be like, oh, because this person hit me, I'm hurt so much, I'm going to go and attack them back. But you also attacked them last year and the year before and the year before, and you've been attacking them for 75 years. So what justification do you have to be like, now I really got hurt, so I'm really mad and I'm going to do more than I used to do before? Why were you doing it before? What was the reason? So I think that's a very narrow way of looking at it. So for somebody who doesn't have any historical context, so for somebody who has amnesia and they're unable to remember anything about history, or they're unable to hear anything, this argument can apply, and you can still say it's still not fair. Somebody punches you, you don't go and kill them and their whole family. That's not a justification, right? So at least people who have no understanding of anything and they have no patience to spend 5 minutes to learn something, even they could still understand this argument. But going beyond that, if you zoom out and be like, but the person who just punched, he's been getting beat up for 75 years every single day. A little bit different context, right? So yeah, so we got to be careful about the two different audiences you're talking to. Ali. Yeah, most of the prophets were denied and rejected. Yeah. No, not just how he would be treated. It's not. So when Allah is knowledgeable about who to give, it's not just about how the prophet's going to be treated. It's about what the people need as well. Allah sends to what the people need. Inshallah, Isa. Inshallah, it gets erased. So the question is, if you're envying somebody and then you do something bad to them and you take all that stuff, then you realize that you've done something wrong, and then you go and you apologize and you give it back to them and you ask for forgiveness, can that be erased? Yes, inshallah, in the sight of Allah, Allah is very merciful. So if you're genuine and you ask Allah to forgive you, you can forgive you. And hopefully if you're genuine with the other person, you sincerely say sorry, hopefully the other person will also forgive you. So they executed the plan, but it didn't really trick the Muslims very much, because the Muslims who came in, they were still strong, alhamdulillah. By the way, so that's part of the theory about why some of the rules of apostasy came out. So they're like, you know what, you want to do this? Could be some punishment, for you on that. Yes. That's a longer discussion. So another day, inshallah. So keep in mind, the Jews at the time of Prophet Musa were Muslims. Oh, you're talking about now? Okay. Yes. When the Zionist movement came and started moving people into Palestine, yeah, what did the Muslim Ummah know was going to happen? Absolutely. And they didn't agree to it. It was forced on them. They didn't agree to it. That's after it was after the Ottoman Empire had dissolved. So there was no Khalifa anymore. No, they lost power. Yes. Oh no, definitely no. There were definitely some Jews in Medina that really accepted Islam and they stayed. Even among the rabbis, Abdullah ibn Salam is one of the very well-known people. Oh, because the Jews had to, they were exiled from Jerusalem, from Quds twice. So by the Roman Empire and by the Persian Empire. All right, enjoy the cookies. Right, wait, okay, oh, too late. They started running. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. La ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.